let me just add one thing that I think the committee really needs to know about and look into, and that is I have been retired for several years, so I have not kept current on all the plans, and these are tax laws. They change from year to year. But when I retired, there was a type of defined contribution plan that was called an age-weighted plan that allowed you to contribute more to people over a certain age than you did to people under a certain age. I would suggest, I know your time is limited, but I would strongly suggest that you talk to somebody who isn't retired like me to find out if age-weighted defined contribution plans are still available. A person who's expert in this, I am sure, could draft you a document within 24 hours. It's not difficult to do. You are allowed to discriminate among classes of employees provided that the discrimination doesn't violate any EEOC guideline, and in the case of contributing more to elderly, it would not.
Mr. Cross, you're not retired, are you? Yeah.
I mentioned at the workshop, no matter what decision you make, someone's going to be upset, and obviously that's going to be the case. We did look at what's known as a target benefit plan. A cousin of that would be an age-weighted plan. The way that works is you allocate more of a certain deposit. So, for example, if the city's contribution were to be $175,000, as opposed to 8% of pay, some individuals would get 15 or 20% of pay. Other individuals would get 3% of pay. So right off the bat, as you change that plan, those individuals that are currently getting 8% are going to be upset. The other thing that since you've, and again it's unfortunate, but since you've got a long period of time here where we don't have coverage, no mandatory employee contributions for better or worse, and no past service credit, those individuals who are within 3 to 4 years of service, you'd have to contribute an untoward amount to get any kind of a meaningful pension. So that's the challenge with moving to that type plan.
Mr. Cross, would you mind backing up just a little bit? The last thing you said there, I'm trying to understand what you were trying to convey. You said that with an age-weighted plan, we'd have to commit an untoward, I think your word was, amount to compensate people who are close to retirement.
Well, you would not have to, of course. Thank you. Break it into two components, and I think that's a great question. With an age-weighted target, various other iterations, again, you would allocate more to those individuals who are closer to retirement. So let's say we adopt that plan today, whatever formula we come up with, so then we're going to skew the contribution. So some individuals will get 2 to 3% of pay, other individuals will get 15 to 20% of pay. Apart from that, those individuals who are 55, 56 or older, who are closer to retirement, that get them to a replacement ratio under which they could retire, you'd have to contribute in a separate plan somehow, some way, or you wouldn't have to, but to get them to that replacement ratio, it'd be closer to 40% of pay in some sort of a separate type arrangement. So you can't get those individuals, for better or worse, to a replacement ratio at 65 under either one of these formulas. So you could adopt that plan, and that's how it would work going forward. But those people close to retirement under that arrangement, and we looked at that, would either suffer or you'd have to contribute so much money as a city, I'm not sure you could budget for it. So that'd be the challenge.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I know this is going on a long time, and I'll be very brief. Mr. Smoke has talked about he needs something for the budget. I would recommend that if you do something tonight, that you do the Social Security and the matching 401k, that the backlash I'm concerned about from the public that, all we had on the agenda tonight said retirement. And the general public does not know that you're considering a defined benefit plan. And I think they need the opportunity to comment on that. Most of them have Social Security. Probably the majority of people in town have a matching 401k. There are some options and some ways that you can address the longer-term employees. That takes a little longer to get to, but there are some legal ways that you can do that. And even with the Social Security and the defined contribution plan, and you have better control of your money, and that's my recommendation to you.
Well, it's not exactly true that our citizens don't know what's going on because we've gotten emails. You're probably right.
My name is Ruth Hawk. I'm the Community Development Director. I had not intended on speaking this evening. The first speaker was supposed to be Steve Coker. He is one of our building officials, and he ended up leaving sick today. He did speak at the Personnel Committee, and I think he's been attending several of the Personnel Committees. Steve has been with the town for 17 years, and prior to that, he had his own plumbing business for 25 years. And like all of us, he was aware that our Social Security benefits would be decreasing as we worked for the town with no contributions. But what he didn't realize was about the windfall and the pension penalties and how that would affect him. And so here you have a person who contributed not only as an employee but as an employer into the Social Security system and pretty much is not going to be getting much of a benefit because of the windfall and the pension penalty. None of us were told about those penalties when we came to work here. In fact, I personally specifically asked whether this was going to affect my Social Security benefits, and I was told no. Steve basically was much more eloquent in speaking about this because it is closer to his heart, given the fact of Steve is closer to retirement than I am. But I think what it boils down to is, all costs aside, you need to think about the employees and then that they have made the town what it is today.
I'm going to throw something out here, try to get everybody to look at this a little bit differently. First of all, I think what everybody's struggling with is not what kind of retirement plan we want to have, but rather what do we want to do for the long-term employees. And I really think they're two different issues. So what I would offer is let's decide what we're going to do for a retirement plan if we were starting this town today. And then let's have separate conversation about what options are available to deal with the people that have served the community for a long time and are in this situation. The more I hear this discussion, the more I've become convinced we're trying to blend two issues into one. And again, as has been stated many times, we're not going to make everybody happy. This is not, I want the staff to hear this from me, even though I'm the new guy. I do have great appreciation for everything you've done. This is not a stance of do we believe the employees have done a good job. This is not a decision on do we like the people that work here. It really is not. And, if we could base a decision on that, it would be a very easy answer. It's a decision on what can the town do in the long run and what can we afford to do today. So I would offer, let's make a decision on what we need to have for a retirement plan. And that does not keep us from coming back and discussing what do we have to do, what do we want to do, and what can we afford to do for the staff that have been here and served the community well, and put them in a position where they can retire. I really think we're in two different issues, and until we separate the two, we're going to sit here regardless of what option we talk about. We are never going to move forward. So I would offer that as a little different perspective.
Well, I agree with Alderman Honkin on one count and disagree on the other. I think that he really hit the nail on the head. We do have two issues here, and I don't think we can resolve them together. I think it's going to take some work on the second issue. So I agree with that. The second part of his, and it's been said here almost ad nauseum that we're not going to make everybody happy. I disagree with that. I think that there is a solution here, and we're going to need to get together and we're going to need to work on it until we find out what's the right thing to do, what's the fair thing to do, what's the best thing to do. And it may not be perfect, but I think we probably need to go away with it with everybody pretty well buying into what we decide to do. We may not get to that tonight, but I think Alderman Honkin is right that we do have two issues here, and we can't. I don't think we're going to be able to sit here at this meeting, and we're going to be here for a long time deciding how we're going to go back and fix something that was done 30 years ago. But we can decide what we're going to do going forward, and I think we've got some pretty good information on our plate, and we do have the option if we decide down the road, well, you know, maybe that wasn't the greatest decision. Let's tweak it. We can do that. So with that having been said, I would be agreeable to voting tonight, making a decision on what we're going to do going forward, and with the understanding that we do have some issues here. And I want to thank Bud and those others who have spoken, because I came in here with a pretty well fixed notion of what was right and what I was going to do, but you've helped me understand your issue a little bit better. And yeah, this thing has been working for a long time. You're much more aware of it than I am because you've been here living with it. I've had maybe 3 or 4 meetings in the course of 2 years where we've discussed this, and I'm just kind of getting a handle on it. So please bear with me at least as I try to get my hands around it. But I assure you that I want to do what's right for everybody, and I would like to have us go away from this whatever resolution we come up with where everybody's pretty happy that we realize we've done the best we can with what we got to work with in the interest of the citizens and the employees, and I think we can make everybody at least pretty happy. I don't think we need to go away with one side feeling like they've won, the other side feeling like they've lost.
All right, let me suggest this. Let's vote on something. And all of us take a pledge to our long-term employees that we will do everything we possibly can to fix the problem. I don't think we can promise anything specifically other than the best we can do. And I'm willing to take that pledge.
I'll join you in that pledge.
Will also. Mrs. Curry, have you taken a survey of all the employees and what they would like? Do we know what all 42 employees, which option they would like?
With the realization that whatever you all decide is what we'll have, and with that in mind, and also in mind that these employees have been, this is one of the first things they talked to me about when I came here 3 years ago, and they've been considering this for a couple of years before that. The morale and the stickiness to this topic, we thought it was best to go with employees with whatever decision was made, rather than giving them a choice and tearing everything up yet again.
Ross, I had a question for you. In your professional opinion, what is the likelihood of coming up with something after what we've been through for the past year with spreadsheets full of options and plans and sub-plans, and of coming up with something that combines as what has been shared in the last few minutes?
And I did want to mention, I'm sorry, to your point, Alderman LaMarche, employees were all given, Mr. Cross read the numbers for each employee individually, and each employee individually got which plan would work best for them of these two plans. So the employees do know which plan would be better for them. They just haven't voted on to say which one they wanted. So they are aware.
What I've heard tonight, it seems like they prefer the defined benefit plan.